Hey folks, today we're going to be playing a game of Ozymandias. If you're not sure what this game is, I actually did a video about it when it was in the Steam Next Fest, but it is a Civilization Light kind of game, something like Civ mixed with Risk or something like that, but I'll show you once we get into the game itself. We're going to be playing on the Mediterranean map. This isn't a sponsored video, I'll be honest, I picked the full game up over Christmas and I've been playing it a whole bunch since. I think I've got about 60 hours in this, so I really wanted to show it off on the channel quickly. So we'll get into the game and I can talk you through it. Now, the first couple of turns are going to be a little bit slower than usual because I'm going to have to talk you through the game. This is very much one of those games that's easy to pick up, but I think hard to master, and there's a lot of different strategies you can play out in this game. But anyway, we're going to be playing as the Celts. All these little civs here you can play as, but we're going to play as the Celts because I haven't finished this map as the Celts. So we'll give it a go. And the Celts, they are bureaucratic. I'll talk you through that in a second. But here we go. We've loaded in. We've got the 9, I think, civilizations down the left-hand side. As I said, we're Celts and we are bureaucratic. So what does that mean? It gives you different bonuses. Now, the country doesn't really matter, but the bonuses are like the bureaucratic. You can see this one is militant, these are ecological, and they just modify some of the systems. So as the Celts, we get knowledge technologies cost less, reducing waste also costs less, we'll talk about that in a minute, flags cost more, and growing your cities costs more. So every archetype of civilization has 2 bonuses and 2 negatives. You can hover over the other ones and see, so the Scythians, they're militant, their power is cheaper, and their units are cheaper, but their knowledge and food technologies cost more. So all of these are different ways to play the game. You can kind of play the game the same way if you want to and semi-ignore these, but it usually leans in a certain way. So yes, we are the Celts, we're good at knowledge and reducing waste, but we're less good at actually spreading our civilization, so that will hamper us slightly at the beginning of the game. Now, what else do we need to worry about? On the right-hand side, you can see these 4 tabs. There's actually a fantastic tutorial for this game which goes through each of these tabs. You play a version of a map which really shows off how they work. I would recommend to play that if you do pick this game up, but I wanted to show you a normal game in this video. So the first one we have to worry about is science. Now this looks very daunting, but it's actually very easy. You can basically spend science to improve each one of these columns. The first one is flags. This makes it cheap to place flags, and that's how you expand your realm. The second one is science. Yes, there's science within science, so it's called knowledge in the game, but I'll probably call it science all the way through. And that makes your tiles give you more science. The next one is wealth. Putting points into here just makes the respective tiles give you more wealth, pretty obvious. The next one is food, and the same thing. Put a point in grassland. Instead of grassland giving you +1 food, it will now give you +2 food. And then power, that's just how powerful you are on a certain tile. If you have an army there, it makes the army more powerful. If you have no army there and you're contesting a claim on somewhere, the one with the highest power will win that claim. We'll see that as we continue. So that's a very quick overview. We'll talk about this more as we play through the game. The next tab is wealth. Again, I won't go through this too much. Each one of these columns is basically how much of these you're going to get next turn. You can see there is waste, so you can't just stockpile these up endlessly because you will actually lose them. So you can see in science, for example, we start with 40. If we did nothing this turn, we'd actually have -10. So we'd actually end up with less science next turn than this turn, even though we have the same amount of land, just because our waste is so bad. So what we need to do is spend this. There's no point hanging on to it. We might as well spend it to make improvements elsewhere. And then in the future, we can buy these reductions, which are cheaper for us as we are bureaucratic, and that will reduce the waste in the future. And the same thing basically for wealth, food, and power. Wealth is a little bit different because the more wealth you have, that actually gets spread across the other 3, depending on how you have this set up. Now, by default, it's 100% to food, because at the beginning of the game, it's all about just expanding your borders as quick as you can. But later on, you can change this to be more powerful, to get more science, or you can just reduce this and then end up with more wealth on the next turn. Or again, in this example, if we did it like this, we'd actually end up with less wealth next turn because our waste is so bad. We'll leave this at 100%. The only other 2 things to worry about in this menu is at the bottom. This is where you buy armies and buy navies. The other thing we have to worry about, and we won't go into it too much, is that the 30 gold here, the 30 wealth that we have, is the money that we will have at the end of this turn to spend on things. It doesn't really matter too much at the moment because it doesn't really affect that much, but I'll show you later on as we continue. But it is one thing to keep in mind is that the money that you have at the end of your turn is the money that will be spent on things for the start of your next turn. That might seem super obvious, but when I first played the game, it didn't twig with me for some reason. It's most obvious when we buy our first army, and I'll probably show it off then for you. The next one is just the food tab. This is super easy. You just spend your food on expanding your realm. And then the last one is power. Again, until we get armies, we don't need to worry about that too much. But anyway, let's get into it. Enough waffling. Let's get into the actual game itself. Now, as you can see, we're up here. We've got some grassland, we've got hills, we've got forest, we've got more grassland. It's kind of hard for us to decide what to focus on land-wise. Some of these are easier. Like if you play over here, you know you need to invest into hills and plains. Down here, plains, desert, hills, super obvious. But around us, we've got what? Hills, we've got waterways, we've got forests, we've got grassland. Which one should we focus on? Well, if we look at this, you can see already some of these start with initial bonuses. So waterways, or rivers, I guess I should call them, which is their name, they actually start with 2 extra food. I think that's across the whole game, no matter who you play as. So some of these are already better for us than other things. Like you can see, if we expanded into the water, into the sea, we actually get nothing out of anything that we own here until we fill these out. Now, I think, to be honest, grassland's probably going to be the best one for us, because we can expand across the north of Europe here, down into Italy, and some of this area as well. And we'll probably be able to grab a couple of tiles relatively quickly. This is where some of the strategy comes into it, because there's different ways you can expand. Again, I don't want to get bogged down too much at the start, but it is one thing to call out. Like, you can spend money to get your flags to be cheaper so you can expand, or you can expand to get more food each turn, which would then allow you to get more flags anyway. But in some scenarios, one's better than the other. Let's go for, I think, science from grassland, because we're going to be picking up a lot of grassland, and then we'll get more science, and then we can unlock more things quicker that way. That's what I think. I mean, we could also get the science from rivers as well, but I don't know how far down here we're going to be able to get. Do you know what? Actually, I'm going to get more flags for cheaper for grassland, because then we could expand up here a lot quicker, and then we could do some other stuff. So anyway, I think that'll do for now. We might spend something else as well. So let's go 5, 5. What have we got? 5 left. Let's take all these northern ones here. And then, actually, we have some more science left. We might as well spend this. We'll just pick this up. We'll just pick up the extra river science, because we might get down here. We've got this river tile here, and we can try grab these ones as well. And that is the end of the first turn. So you press end turn, and now it's going to play out everyone else's. It's got a nice little ding as it places all the flags that you'll hear. Now, this is another system I haven't shown off yet. This is the opportunities. These are basically cards that give you different bonuses. As you can see, the top one is place 3 flags on a river. You unlock all the flag tech for rivers. So this is a good way. Instead of having to buy those flag techs, you can just place 3 flags and then you'll get them all anyway. We're actually going to go for this one, Rock Climbers, because this one's going to allow us to claim a mountain tag for free. Yes, I've called them mountains and hills. You know what I mean. We're going to claim some of the Alps here using that. And then again, we've got some science here. We've only got 8, so we can't buy any main tech. We could buy some flag tech, but to be honest, I think we're just going to keep that for ourselves. So yes, we've got 19 food. So again, we've upgraded our grassland. So we kind of want to get as much grassland as we can. We're also going to go for the river, because that is also by default quite a good tile to claim anyway. And that is it for the next turn. As I said, really just that first turn is a lot of me waffling on, trying to give you the basics. If there's anything I miss or anything that you want to ask about, do leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer it. I'm not an expert at this game, but like I say, I played it a lot recently, so I've got some knowledge of it. The next 2 opportunities are easy for us to choose. We're going to pick the grassland one. This will just give us 2 food per grassland tile that we already own. So this is just a nice bonus amount of food for 1 turn. This one about forests is actually pretty good. Do you know what? It is actually pretty good, because we've got a lot of forests near us, but we would probably not get as much value out of this as we will for this. So let's do this, because for the forest one, you have to place 3 flags, and it would unlock all the flag tech for forests. Now, if you claim 3 here, we're almost fully claimed anyway, so we won't get much value out of that one. This one's probably the one that makes the most sense. And to spend these, you just click on this crown over here, and then you can claim it here. Now, you can store up to 3 of these, and then you can switch them out each turn. So we'll probably encounter that later on. There is another whole system here that I haven't talked about. You might have been thinking, Malforian, how do you win this game? Well, you win this game by filling out these crowns, and you do that by finishing these like world wonders, basically. They're the Colossus, the Pyramids, the Mausoleum, a bunch of other ones. As you can see, for this one, it's armies and fleets. If I had 9 of them, I get 3 crowns for that. Population, if I had 36 population, I get 3 from pyramids. All the way down, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And whichever combination you can do to fill up this amount of crowns, you win. And we'll see that as we continue, but we want to claim these grasslands as soon as we can. So now we have an additional amount of these. We have 24. Now, how are we going to spend this? We could build a city. What does that do? Well, the cities themselves give you additional science and wealth. They do cost you food, but the food cost is generally negated by the other things that you will get from it. The main bonus of these are, one, it protects your lands, and two, it makes tiles cheaper to buy where they are built. So you can't really have one city and have your whole civilization done from it, because flags get so expensive the further they are from a city that it is way cheaper to build a city near your border and then buy the tiles around it. That is what we're probably going to do. We could do it here. Now, the problem on this map is everyone's so close to us. Is it worth doing that, or should we just spend it to grab these lands? I'm actually going to do that after saying all of this. I'm going to grab all this grassland, because I don't think it's worth the risk of building a city, not having any food then to buy any tiles this turn, because people will probably claim all these tiles by the end of this turn anyway. So again, that's some kind of ideas you got to think about in future ones. Now, we have got to spend our science. As I said, if we don't spend it, we're going to lose 4 of it anyway next turn. Now, we could, in theory, just take that 4 reduction and not really care about it. We'll have 26 science anyway next turn, which is 10 more than we have now. But in my head, I'm thinking, well, there's no point wasting that 4. I'm actually going to buy a power tech in grassland, because we have a lot of grassland. Once armies are coming near us, we want to make grassland really powerful so it's harder for people to take it from us. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend 1 point in power for grassland, and then that's going to be it for this turn. And then, as you can see, everyone else is going to kind of do their turns here. So again, we've got another opportunity. The top one is a free sea tile. Sea tiles aren't really going to help us on this map, so I'm not going to do this. Build a city in a grassland that will give us a tech for free that is related to grassland, which we will do. We don't actually have enough food to do that this turn. So again, buy more grassland. I'm gonna buy these 3. And then, have we got any science we can buy? We could buy this forest science tech. Now, it's only worth 3 extra because we only have 3 tiles of forest. It's probably worth it long term, though, because we have these additional forests over here. We have all this we could try grab as well, especially as we're kind of already starting to get boxed in a little bit. So I'm actually going to spend this 18 here. It might not be the best idea. Maybe it would have been better to get the flags for it to grab the land first, but whatever. Let's roll with it, and we'll end our turn. And you're going to see a battle over here. Now, I think we both... Yes, I think we do. I'll have a look actually in a second. We're going to pick this one up. Yeah, so as you can see then, I tried to show it, but it's kind of grayed out as it's doing the turns. Both us and the Britons here put a flag on here. Now, we must both have +1 power on grassland, because we basically negated our claims and no one got it. So we must have the same level of power in grassland at that point. So we could try do this, but we need 30 science to get an additional point in power for grasslands. So it's probably not worth doing that. Well, we can't do it, so yeah, it definitely isn't worth doing. What do we want to spend our science on? Again, we could keep it, and the next turn we would have enough to buy one of the other techs that are probably more useful. But looking at the map, what do we need to do? We could get this power for river. In case somebody gets an army here, it would help us immediately. Might go forests, but again, we could probably claim these without too much trouble. So I'm going to spend a point in forests and keep everything else. As you can see, that is going to waste us 4, but we're still going to end up with 31 next turn, which is enough to buy a proper tech in some of these. We've got 24 points, so... I think, again, there's no point claiming this, because, again, if the Britons claim it, we know at worst we're going to not get it, and they will probably get it instead of us. There's no point doing that. I think what we'll do is put 6 in here, and then claim some of this forest here. I actually missed this river here. We definitely want to pick that up. And there we go. That's the end of this turn. So, as you can see, we put these in, and then we'll see we'll have 31, 26, 27 next turn. As you can see, all the UIs update kind of in real terms. So as you put flags down, it will alter those totals. As you can see, they did put a flag in here. It would have stopped them getting it, but it also would have been kind of pointless for us to do it. Let's go for Rugged Pioneer, as we can claim another wood up here for free. We don't have to pay to do it. Or we could claim this one. I'm actually going to claim this one with it. It doesn't really make that much of a difference, but that is what we're going to do. I'm going to claim these. I'm going to try and claim this hill just to stop them doing it. Now, they probably have points in hills. Actually, no, they can't because they've never owned a hill tile. So that is one thing you can kind of keep in mind. you can only invest points in tiles that you own at the beginning of that turn. So as you can see, we have no desert tiles, so we can't invest in desert tiles. So one thing we know is this guy has no hill tiles, so he can't have invested in hills. So if I put 1 point in here, in theory anyway, if he puts a flag here, we should win that battle because he, in theory, shouldn't be able to defeat us because he shouldn't have a point in hills. There is actually a way for us to check, so we could do this immediately. If you actually keep this window open and hover over all these different ones, you can see what the other players have spent their things in. So you can see here, these guys here, they have no points in hill power, so we should win that. When we end this turn, we should, in theory, steal this. We'll see whether they waste some resources trying to claim it. No, they're not gonna by the looks of it. No, they haven't. They've actually tried to go up against us here. They might win this, actually. Yes, because they must have at least 1 in forest power. We can actually have a look. Again, if we go to here, and then go to them. Yes, they have +1 in forests, as you can see, and we do not have +1 in forests, so that's why they claimed it instead of us when they overlapped the claims. We can claim this now, because we kind of cornered it, so they can't do it. Now, as you can see, we're quickly running out of things we can claim. We could claim these islands, but to be honest, I'm going to build a city instead. Build a city on a grassland, we get a grassland tech for free. We're going to put it in, do we want money or do we want food? If we have food, we are quickly running out of space to spend that on expanding, but we could spend it on making our cities better. So I think we're going to do that, especially as it costs us nothing to do. And then we've got 37 science. So what do we want to spend this on? I think we might go, I kind of want to go forest power, but we don't actually have an army yet, so it's kind of pointless. So we might as well take this +1 wealth per forest tile, because then all these forests will give us an additional amount of gold per each one. And then again, we won't spend anything here. We'll leave this at 100. Once we get our first army... Oh, actually, no, we're going to change this. So in theory, we could leave this and we'd have 37 wealth next turn. Now, an army is 40 wealth. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to knock this down by 1. We'll get a little bit less food, but we will have 40 wealth, which means we'll be able to buy an army next turn. So we're going to do that, and then because we'll have an army relatively early, we might be able to grab some tiles off other civilizations before they build their armies. We'll see if that actually happens. And again, we've got some more opportunities. Oh, we should have claimed this as well. Oh, no, actually, this would be good to claim this turn instead. So place 5 flags in 1 turn. Well, we're not going to do that because we can't actually place any more flags, really. Or we can grow all our cities by 1 turn. This is actually really hard to do. I mean, we might as well pick it, but we're not going to do that. So what do we need to do? We need to buy that army I was talking about. So as you can see, at the moment, we'd have 71 food. This is the thing I was talking about at the beginning of the video. We have 71 food here next turn if we did nothing. If I buy this, it will knock it down by nearly 20 food. So we'll have way less food next turn. We can fix this by using that card. But anyway, now where do we want to use this army? We have invested in... What have we got? We've got grassland, hills... And we could buy this tech as well. Yeah, I'm going to do that, actually. And then we can probably come up here and try steal some of these forests early on against these chaps. So let's see if that works. Now, we do have some food. We could build another city. I'm actually going to do that up here, because then we get another power tech for having 3 grassland cities. And that is a grassland power that we will have got. So this has gone up to 2. And then the next one to make this 3 would cost us 90 tech, which is quite a way off. That we're not going to have that quite yet. We do have 5 food, so we might as well buy this island, to be honest. And then we'll do our next turn. And then we've got our new opportunity. We're not going to do this because C just really doesn't matter where we are. If we were down here near the Mediterranean, this one might have been worth picking up. Conquer an island space. I mean, we'll take this one because you can have 3 of them, but actually the nearest island is here. So, yeah, we're not going to be doing that anytime soon, but we might as well have it. I totally forgot to do this last turn, so let's do it this turn instead. So that gave us 3 gold per forest tile that we had. Now, one thing we want to do now is because we have an army, we want to invest in that army. So you can see at the moment, our army has +1 power. We probably want to put this, I always put it to like 30%, so 70-30. That's generally what I do on most maps. It can change. Like I say, a lot of different strategies you can have. But usually my default is stay at 100. Once I get an army, change this to 70-30, because then I have 3 power, plus how much power I have invested in that kind of tile. So as we can see, this would be +3, plus the +1 from forest. So we project 4 power into this tile. and then we've got to go up against how much they've invested in forest. If they bring an army up here, we'll see all that play out. Now, what should we spend our science on? We're going to spend on grassland, because we have 8 grassland tiles. If we invest in this, we'll have 8 more gold each turn. So that is a good place to use it. Again, we're not going to spend anything in here. We have got some food left. Now, there's no useful tiles for us to buy, to be honest. But if we don't spend it, some of it will get wasted. So I'm going to claim these water tiles anyway, just because why not? We don't actually get anything from it, and it isn't worth us investing in them because it's 100 science, and we will just never have enough tiles to earn that back that are sea tiles. Well, at least not for a long time, so we don't need to worry about it. And as you can see, other nations are starting to get armies now. We are going to come up against other people, and we'll start seeing the combat. Now, you can see immediately in the background, well, actually, I'm just going to click this. This hash effect here, this means this land will get claimed if nothing else happens between now and the next turn. We've got it up here. It's kind of hard to see because we are blue and the background is dark green. But if nothing else happened, we would take these 2 tiles next turn. So we have to wonder, I guess, do we stay here, claim these 2 tiles, or do we come down here and stop them claiming these 2 tiles? To be honest, I think I'm going to take the risk and take these. Now, it isn't as simple as that, because the white team up here, if they build an army this turn and move it to blockers here, we might not get this, and then we'd still lose the lands, the yellows down there. So it's a bit of a balancing act, trying to figure out what you want to do. Now, what do we want to spend our science on? I think I'm going to start just investing in the tiles that we already have. Now, we can't invest in anything else for forest, but we do have quite a bit of hills. So I think we'll invest in this for hills. Or do we want the science? I'll go science, actually, because then we'll have more science in the future. We have nothing else to spend our wealth on, so we'll spend our food. Now, as you can see, we can either found some new cities, or we can expand the cities we already have. Do we have any bonuses? Grow all your cities. We're never going to be able to do this. This one's really hard to do, to be honest, at any point in any game. Conquer an island space we can't do, and then 2 food per river. Sure, we'll claim that now, because we'll probably lose this river, so we might as well claim that now. So we'll have 56 food. I think what we'll do is just invest in our first city here, make that a little bit bigger, and then we will see what happens. I think we'll get this and lose this, but again, if they build an army, we'll lose this claim anyway. No, it looks like they didn't build an army, so it's actually going to play out roughly how I thought it would. Wait, what? I thought we'd definitely lose this river. I guess we didn't. I guess our base power here, I suppose for grasslands, we actually have quite a lot. Yeah, we have +2. So they'd have to have +3 projected power to overrule us. I thought we'd lose this river tile though, but I guess for whatever reason we didn't. Right, let's keep pushing over here. So now it's a new turn. We need to move up to a border. This turn we'll start getting the hash, and the next turn we'll be able to claim it. You can see that playing out elsewhere. Whoever these guys are, the Scythians, yeah, they're trying to take some of this forest as well. What do we want to invest our science on? I think we're actually going to go for some money here, maybe. Yeah, let's do that. And then we'll also pick up the science from rivers. And then we've got 54 gold. We're not going to spend this on anything. We're going to invest this instead. So again, we'll invest down here, make this that little bit bigger. And as you can see, that's everything. The gold is the one you don't really need to worry about. As you can see, we don't really waste any. So we might as well just keep it how it is for now. There's no point spending it on these. Because again, if we lower the wealth, it actually means we have less food next turn. So we don't want to do that. And it would also potentially lower our power as well, because there'd be less wealth to spend on power. So you can see if I hover over this, next turn we'd actually only have 2 power instead of 3, but have 6 less food, and it doesn't really help us in the short term anyway. Later on, we will want to invest in these probably, because we will want to stockpile things up a little bit more. But early game, you really do want to just be spending it as quick as you can for the most part. They actually moved their army here, which might help us actually. And you can see we have 3 of these. Some of these we might as well get rid of, like these 2. In fact, all 3 of them are kind of useless for us. We're going to pick this up. This is going to allow us to reduce science waste without costing us anything. So we'll move that up there. I think we're just going to stay here, because we'll probably take these 3 forest tiles. They might take this grasslands, but I don't think they will. I think if we hover over this actually, or click on it, you can actually see what the game will think will happen next turn. Looking at this, we will actually lose this grass tile if we don't do anything. So they've got +2 from unit, +1 from tech. We've only got +2 from tech. But you can see up here, yeah, we're getting a big advantage. You can see this round icon. Basically, whoever has the most kind of notches on this icon will win that land the next turn, or If it hasn't already got a hash look on it, we'll get a claim on that location. Right, we've got science. What do we want to spend this on? I kind of want to get some more forest power, but we don't have enough. It's 60, which we don't have. So what do we want to spend it on? It's actually really limited with where we are on the map as to what we want to spend on. I might just keep it. Actually, no, because how much is wasted? See, 12 is wasted. So if you look at some of these, this is 30, but in theory, if you take 12 off that, it's actually only costing us 18. Now, it doesn't work out exactly like that, because we will still have some waste anyway, but I think you've got to factor that in a little bit. So I'm going to do this just because there is a lot of rivers around us, so it isn't a wasted point being put in here, but it is something that I probably wouldn't have done if we weren't going to lose as much. As you can see, we're still going to lose 5, but we've kind of banked the difference, if you want to think of it that way. Anyway, that's what I always think. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments, I'm sure. So we have 43 food. We might as well spend this. Well, there's no point keeping food, to be honest, if you can spend it on something useful. We're going to spend it making the city bigger up here. We might as well just expand our cities. You would think, well, why didn't you build an additional city here? The thing is, when you build a city, it actually reduces the grassland. So the grassland kind of disappears and it just becomes a city tile, which, to be honest, is pretty good. You get 2 science, 1 wealth. But at the moment, a grassland is worth 1 science, 2 wealth, and 2 food. So you can see it's actually worse for us in some ways, at a very basic level, to replace a grassland with a city. It gets better because you can scale the cities by making them bigger, but initially it's not worth us replacing it at the moment. But anyway, enough waffling. That is the end of this turn. Some of these turns are going to be longer than others, so yeah, that's what we're going to do this turn. And we'll see how this works out. They don't have an army at all here for some reason. I don't know how that's the case. I think every other nation has an army. Yeah, they do. I don't know why they haven't built one. That's really odd. It wouldn't usually go this well for us at the beginning, to be honest. Right, we can double our wealth, and that will give us some reduction in wealth waste. This is usually pretty good. Again, because you don't need to spend money on reducing it. You could just naturally get there. Or Conquer a Hill Space will give us 30 science and 30 wealth. These are usually pretty good for picking up. Now, we're not going to conquer any islands, so we might as well replace it with hills. So if we do conquer a hill space, we are going to get a nice bonus amount of all of these, so definitely worth picking up if we can. Now, the army, I think we're just going to move it over here and try to claim some more of these forests. Again, our forest bonuses are pretty good, and in fact, we're going to make them even better. We have 11 forest tiles. We're going to invest in this. It costs all our science, but it's going to give us more food. And then next turn, we can spend that food on building a city. That will make us more science. And you can kind of see how that kind of cycle carries on going as you play the game. Next, we don't need to worry about wealth too much. We've nearly got enough to buy a second army. We might do that because then we can double up our armies to expand easier. Or we can start defending, because I think these guys over here will probably start pushing into Italy if we're not careful. But anyway, we've got 43. After everything I said last turn, I'm actually going to build a city on some grassland because we've got nothing else to spend it on. We might as well do that, to be honest. And then we'll do next turn. And we'll see what happens. I'm amazed these guys don't have an army yet. That is, like, really bad because they're just going to get chipped away at. As you can see, oh, there we go. They just finally built one and they blocked this claim using that army they've just built. So that probably will help them. The problem they've got is that they've got 3 different realms against them, so they're gonna have to move that army around constantly to block the claims every turn, and they're just not gonna be able to do that long term. Right, the next opportunity, we're gonna take this one. This one's pretty cool. You spend 50 food this turn, but then for the next 10 turns, you get 12 bonus food. So you get 120 food out of your investment of 50. That is pretty decent to me. So we probably will do that, although we could build another city. No, I'm actually gonna use that, so we're going to use food orchards. Some of these are like risk reward. We could build another city this turn or expand one of our cities, but I think just having that extra food each turn is going to be better because then we can get more and more done each turn going forwards anyway. And then the science, what do we want to spend this on? We kind of want to start investing in power tech because then we can just expand our realm. And then some of these bonuses, again, this is where the strategy comes in. I could invest in like this, which will get me 1 more wealth per hill. Or, if we had enough to get another power in a hill, I could move an army down here, claim, 2 or 3 tiles of hills, and that would be almost as good as this, and it would give me more protection as well. Once you get into, like, the mid to late game, trying to figure out which strategy is best is a trial and error, to be honest. But we are probably going to do this one anyway, just because this will give us some extra money each turn, which as we've got set up will give us some more food and then in theory some more power, but we haven't hit like the notch next to go up to 4 power. How much do we have to go up? We need to go up to 50-50 to get 4 power. I think I'm actually going to do that because I want to try grab as much of this forest as I can. And we've got 11 food. I guess we might as well claim this sea tile up here. Why not? And then we'll do another turn. And then we'll leave the episode here for today once we've finished this turn. And then in part 2, we'll probably try finish the rest of the map. But this initial part, I just wanted to show off like the basics, roughly how you play the game, give you some knowledge about it. As I've said, do play the tutorial. The tutorial is fantastic for teaching you about each one of these. It has custom scenarios which really show how they work. So definitely do play that if you do pick up the game. And as I said, there will be a link to it in the description down below. But we'll finish this turn. The first one is Hard Won Peace. Oh, no threatened hexes for 3 turns. We're going to pick this one. What that means is your land here can have none of these hashes on it. You know, the kind of claims that another realm has done. Now, we might be able to hit this because I think these guys, if we move our army here, they probably won't get claims on our forest. So I think we might be able to hit that relatively easily. We're going to try do it. If we don't, it's not the end of the world. And then, as I've said, 70 for another army. I'm going to buy another army. Again, this is something you've got to kind of even out whether it's a good idea, because currently we have 5 power. If we buy an army, that uses up nearly all our gold, which means we are actually going to go down to having 2 power next turn instead of 5, because we don't have the money, gold, wealth, the 5 different names I've called this in this video. But we won't have that money to pay the army to be better. So short term, for 1 turn, this will actually make our current army worse, but it does mean we will have another army to use the turn after. So if we move them here, the advantage of this is that the yellow team here, who are they again? The Mycenaeans, they will have to then think about what to do with this army, because we could try and get claims here, or we could get claims up here, and they're going to have to decide which one to defend. Now, they could just spend money on another army, but again, that helps us, because they're spending wealth then on things they probably don't want to try protect their borders. Of course, we could have that happen to us. We could be over here, and then the Britons, they could start invading us from the west, and we would have to decide what to do then. So, you know, there are all these different scenarios that can play out. Now, what do we want to do with our science? Again, it's kind of hard to know at this point what to spend it on. I think we'll go with hills to get us some more food, because then we can expand our cities, we'll get more science, and then again, that kind of feedback loop will happen. We got 54 food. I'm actually going to spend that on increasing this city. And that is going to be the end of this turn. So as I said, that is going to be the end of part 1 of this series. It's probably only going to be 2 or 3 parts. It's not going to take super long to play through this now. Now we've got the basics set up and we're just seeing how the map will play out on this attempt. But do let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like I say, this isn't sponsored. I just wanted to show this off. This is a really fun game. If you're not like talking about it like I am, you can kind of get through a game of this in like 20-25 minutes probably, once you're just blasting away and making decisions and you're kind of on autopilot. I like playing this and like watching a YouTube video or something at the same time. It's just a really cool turn-based game if I want a little bit of strategy, but I don't want to play Civ or something. But let me know what you think of the game. Let me know if you've played it, if you enjoyed it or not. As I say, part 2 will be coming in a couple of days, and we'll see how we do in the middle of the game really at this point, and how well we can spread as the Celts. But anyway, we'll leave it there for today. As always, hit that like button if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new here. I play a lot of grand strategy historical games, usually found playing Crusader Kings, but again, I wanted to show this off today on the channel. But we'll leave it there, and I'll see you all in the next one.